Hello everybody, and welcome to week 2 of the Vital Nutrition 4-week reset with the Charity for Civil Servants. I'm really thrilled to welcome you to today's session. For some of you, you'll have been in the first session, the introduction last week, and so this is a follow-on for you. If you're brand new to this session, please don't forget that last week's introduction has been recorded, so you can go back and watch that if you haven't seen it already. What I just want to do is very briefly, because I think most of you probably will by now have a good understanding of who we are at the charity, but I just want to give you a quick little introduction to us before I bring Jane onto the main screen. So here we are. The charity's been on the go now for 140 years. This year is our 140th anniversary. And in all of that time, our aim has been to support civil servants and their families through difficult times. We can do that by offering a range of services from financial assistance through to money advice, well-being, caring support, and a lot more. Some of our services can be picked up straight off our website. Others might require a little bit more detail so that we can tailor the support that you need. Whenever we're talking about the charity, we want to always remind you that we are not a membership organisation. All current, former and ex-civil servants are eligible to request support from us for the whole of life. And we extend that also, of course, to your financial dependents. Today, I just want to remind you of a couple of little things before we get started. If you would like to interact with Jane, if you'd like to leave a comment, maybe something that you're trying, something you're struggling with, a question that you'd like to ask, then please use the Q&A function and we'll be able to get those questions to Jane at the end of today's session. If you would rather submit a question or a comment without showing your name, you can anonymize your comments. So please use that function if you want to. You don't have to, but that's an option that you have available. I also just want to say that if you would prefer to have closed captions, you can do that too, and it won't disrupt anybody else's viewing of this session. So to access the closed captions, go to the top of your screen where you'll see more and the 3 little dots. Press on the dots, select language and speech, and then turn on closed captions. That will give you that option without anybody else seeing them. But for now, that is enough for me. I'm now going to invite Jane to the screen for this session, section 2 on our 4-week reset.
Thank you, Lisa. Good to be back with you. And I am just going to share my screen and then we can get cracking. Okay, so week 2 of 4, as Lisa said. So as you know, we're kind of building momentum with this. And we talked last week a little bit about your goal setting and just kind of about tightening things up, I suppose, tuning things up, about changing things with the seasons and just helping to make small changes to your diets that are really going to help you to feel and function better. So we're going to move on to step 2 today, and we're going to focus on quite a lot on blood sugar balance. But before we get there, of course, we need to check in to see how you're doing. So last week, our focus was really thinking about building a better breakfast. So for those of you who watched the session last week, and I know actually I had some great feedback from Lisa to say that it's not just necessarily you as an individual that this is impacting, but also maybe your family. So that is really lovely. And what you'll find is that the more that you talk about this with other people, the more momentum you'll get with it and your influence on others as well. So I want to just check in with you about your homework, see how you got on. We were talking about building a better breakfast, getting some nice slow release carbohydrate in there, getting some protein in there, and getting one of your 5 a day. So let us know in the chat box, what was your best breakfast this week? What breakfast did you eat that just made you feel fuller for longer, set you up really well for the day, and just worked? It might be something that you were eating before that you changed slightly. It might be a completely new breakfast for you this week, but just use the Q&A and pop in what breakfast really worked for you this week. And some of the ideas, if you're sort of thinking for a little bit of variety around this, when I'm building a breakfast, when I'm thinking about my breakfast, I want a breakfast that's going to fuel my energy and keep me really sustained all morning. I want that for you and for anybody I work with too. So the things that are going to do that are getting the stabilizers on, getting some protein onto your plate or into your bowl, getting a source of fiber in with your breakfast, and one of your 5 a day. So that could mean that you have your regular porridge, which is your slow release carbohydrate, but you add in some nuts and seeds for additional protein, or you make your porridge with milk, for example, and then put some blueberries on top, like in this diagram or this photograph. Or it might be perhaps that you have something like a Greek yogurt, which is a really nice level of protein, and you put your berries in it and you choose a low sugar granola. Or it might be that you go for something like omelette or eggs. So just share your best breakfast of the week in the Q&A, and we'll come back to that towards the end. So today I really want to get into this idea that the more that we can work on balancing out our blood sugar levels, the better it is for our energy, for our focus, for our mood, for our concentration, and also, if it's your focus, for weight management too. So think about it like this. Most of us wake up to the sound of an alarm clock or the screech of our mobile phone. So we're in fight or flight first thing in the morning. And with that fight or flight, maybe you're late for work as well, or maybe you've got lots of people to get out of the house in the morning. Maybe your mornings are really busy. So when we are in stress mode, we have high levels of adrenaline, and we also have high glucose, so that we've got that energy to fight or flight. So the adrenaline liberates or releases glucose into our bloodstream. When blood sugar levels are high, we release insulin. So insulin brings the sugar down, but it also stores that blood sugar too. Other things that can do that kind of roller coaster effect, apart from stress, is eating too much sugar in our diet, or choosing carbohydrates that are fast release carbohydrates. And our fast release carbohydrates would be things without fiber, like white bread, white rice, white pasta, cornflakes, for example. Something that is a fast release gives you that, something that's lacking in fiber gives you that fast release of energy. Then we release insulin, then we get this dip in blood sugar. And many of us are on this roller coaster without really realizing it. But some of the ways that this makes us feel is that we might notice that in between meals we get hungry or hangry. Maybe we crave sugary things, or if you're more of a savory person, maybe you're craving more starchy things like crisps, or bread is a big one here. So we're looking for something to bring that sugar level back up. The other thing is that we can really notice that we feel more fatigued, or more stressed, more anxious. Maybe our focus or our concentration is not brilliant. And over a long period of time, we get more fat storage, and especially around the middle. So we want to balance this out, because being in this roller coaster long term has got repercussions for our long-term health as well as our everyday health. So it puts us at increased risk of type 2 diabetes, but also other inflammatory conditions and other chronic conditions too. So let's tune it up, but let's do it in a way that's gentle and easy. Keep it simple. As I told you last week, a lot of what we're going to be talking about in these sessions, you know it already, and especially if you've been to a lot of the sessions that we've been doing through, over the last year or so. So it'll be little reminders. But how do we balance this out? How do we get off the roller coaster? How do we manage this fluctuation in blood sugar to help ourselves feel and function better? So, I'm pressing the wrong arrow. I'm on the wrong screen. Hang on one second. So step one is think about your protein first. So we were exploring with our breakfast where we might get protein. So that might be your Greek yogurt. It might be nuts and seeds. It might be, if you use it, something like a whey protein, for example. It might be eggs. But what about at other meals? Your protein can be animal-based, or it can be plant-based, or probably a combination of both for most people. So animal-based proteins are things like meat, fish, chicken, yogurt, eggs, cheese, especially cottage cheese. Plant-based will be things like nuts and seeds and tofu. You get a bit of protein in beans and lentils and quinoa, for example. Edamame beans, those frozen soya beans that you get. So really think about every meal that you're eating. Think protein first, because protein is going to balance out your blood sugar. It's going to help you to feel fuller for longer, and it's going to really sustain your energy. So you won't feel as hungry or hangry in between meals. You'll feel much more sustained, and it can be a real revelation when you increase your protein, because many of us don't get enough protein in our plate. So when we put the focus there and we notice what happens, how we feel when we shuffle our plate a little bit in the direction of not just more protein, but that is certainly one thing that will stabilize our blood sugar. We just feel better. We feel like everything is a little bit easier, and it happens really, really quickly. So think about protein first, and I want to remind you about the quantity of protein here. I don't want you to calculate. I don't want you necessarily to keep a food diary. You know, it can be useful if you want to, but just recognize that every breakfast, every lunch, and every dinner, are you ticking the protein box? Are you getting a palm-sized portion or a quarter of your plate or bowl being protein? So put your attention there. The next thing that's going to help to stabilize our blood sugar. Let's just think about this for a second. So I put this slide in. I forgot. Did you notice I'd forgotten to put this slide in? But I put this slide in because if you want to calculate it and you want to put it through an app like MyFitnessPal, and do your food diary through something like that, it can be a useful exercise. We need around 25 to 30 grams of protein at each meal. Many people are not hitting that level. So if you're thinking, right, I know that I need to increase my protein, don't necessarily just go, right, I need to start eating steak at every meal. Number one, you're going to be out a fortune. And number two, it's not, we need variety. So it might be, for example, at breakfast, we've talked about that already, the nuts, the seeds, the yogurt, for example. Maybe at lunchtime, instead of just having a vegetable soup, you have a bean and lentil soup, a bean or lentil based soup. So you've got some protein there. Maybe you bring in some seeded oat cakes. You've got some protein in the seeds there with a little bit of cheese or cottage cheese. Start thinking differently. Or maybe you swap your regular sandwich to an open sandwich. So you've got less bread and more of the filling. So more of the chicken or the tuna or the whatever your filling is of your sandwich, and more of the salady bits. So could you shuffle things around a little? A really easy way to do this is at dinner. So you might be cooking for one, or you might be cooking for a family. So on your dinner plate, could you shuffle it so that you have got a bit more of the protein in the vegetables and a little bit less of the starchy carbohydrates? Just change that proportion ever so slightly without having to calculate things. And it might be, an example could be, say if you've got chili for tea tonight and you've got your beans in there and you've got your onion and your peppers and all your lovely veggies, you've already got your vegetables and your protein there with the meat and the beans, the vegetables and the tinned tomatoes. So could you have a little bit more of that and a little bit less of the starchy carbohydrates, the rice, maybe a wee bit of salad on the side? Could you shuffle your plate slightly so you're getting a little touch more protein? This diagram just gives us an illustration of where we find protein, and just to show you what 25 to 30 grams of protein would look like on your plate. So it would be things like a chicken breast, a fillet of fish, a small, very small, maybe a portion of minced steak in your chili or your bolognese, for example. But if you're going for things like lentils and hummus and more plant-based, you might need to add a few different plant foods in there. So just start to notice, just put your attention on the protein without overcomplicating it. The next thing then that can make a real difference to how we feel and how we function and our blood sugar is what time are you eating at? So keep an eye on the clock. And I mean, I kind of chose my words carefully here because I know that for lots of people, breakfast is a no-go zone. But think about what happens if we don't eat breakfast. If you're not eating breakfast, you're not putting energy, nutrients, and fuel into your body. So you're running on empty in the morning. And then often we get much hungrier in the afternoon or in the early evening. We've kind of got our diet top heavy. If we can shift it the other way so that we're eating in a way that fuels our body when we need that energy, we have a breakfast, we have a lunch, we have a dinner, but not too late. It means that you're balancing your energy and your calories throughout your day. You're fueling your body and your brain much better, and you'll probably sleep a lot better too. So keep an eye on the clock. Ideally, eat within an hour or two of getting up. It might be as soon as you get up, and that's totally fine. But if you're not a breakfast eater, eat within 2 hours of getting up. Just try it for the week and see how you go. But finish eating earlier at night. So ideally, eat within a 12-hour window. You can narrow that window, but don't narrow it too much. So don't fast for too long. So think, if you're just new to this idea, think about if your breakfast is, for example, at 7 a.m., finish eating by 7 o'clock at night. So just try eating within a 12-hour window. Another way to think about it is leave a gap between your last bite and bedtime. So in research, they say that gap should be 3 hours. In reality, that doesn't always work like that, because you might be an early to bed bird and you might be going to bed at maybe 9 o'clock, 9:30, but you might work late in the evening, so you might exercise, or you might have things to do in the evening, so your dinner is a little later. But just make sure that you're not eating right at bedtime. Leave 2 to 3 hours between your last bite and bedtime. So there's lots of things to think about in relation to the timing of our meals and how it works best in relation to our circadian rhythm, in relation to our energy, and in relation to fueling our body really well for the day ahead. So this is where we're going to put our focus this week. So protein on every plate that you enjoy, every plate of food that you assemble or that you choose. It might be sometimes that just doesn't happen, but just start putting your focus, bring your attention to where you're getting protein. And then we're going to start to notice, well, what happens? What happens? How do I feel? How does that change maybe my energy or my appetite or my mood or my focus or my cravings? Just notice. So a little bit more emphasis on the protein at every plate. And number 2 is time your meals. So you can take what you want out of that. So are you going to think about eating within a 12-hour window? Are you going to consider eating earlier so that you're fueling your body in that first part of the day? Or are you going to consider leaving your gap between the last bite and bedtime? So what is your focus for timing your meals? And that's where we're putting our attention this week. So I want to use the last 10 minutes of our class today just to come back to a little bit of discussion and bringing this to make it a little bit more tailored. The one thing I was going to say is, if you weren't here last week, there is a handout for this 4-week course, and it's one handout for the 4 weeks, so you can get that from Lisa. But let me just check in with you. So I'm going to check in with some of the answers in the chat and see where we're at. Okay, so right, you've got lots of brilliant ideas here. So whole grain toast, poached eggs, and avocado and espresso. Added half an avocado from regular boiled eggs with whole grain bagel. Overnight oats, produced banana Weetabix topped with Greek yogurt, topped with blueberries. Very nice. Bowl of Greek yogurt, dates, sprinkle of chia seeds, granola and honey. Fasting for Ramadan, and this pre-dawn meal helped me to last long. That is wonderful. Last longer without feeling too hungry. Very nice, Leanne. That's interesting, isn't it? And it's thinking about then, so bringing these ideas into suit your lifestyle, your kind of what's happening right at the minute. Very good. That's interesting. Been avoiding breakfast, but I've made a conscious effort this week to eat breakfast. Been having wholemeal toast with chicken or eggs or chicken tikka, bacon medallions. It's made a great difference and helped me feel full until lunch and into the evening. Very good, Craig. Overnight oats, battered chia on top of nuts. Batch made a load and it lasted a good few days, so help with prep time. Perfect. Take the shortcuts where you can. Made egg muffins. Very nice. Scrambled oats. Protein powder, Greek yogurt. Right, you've been doing brilliantly. Soba noodles with tofu and frozen Asian veg bags. Very nice. Chickpea tofu, very nice. Okay, so I think that it sounds like you've all been really putting your attention onto breakfast. So carry that on into the next class or the next week with this. But this time I want you to really put your attention on not just breakfast, but notice at lunchtime, are you getting your protein on your plate? And usually dinner, most of us are ticking that protein box anyway, but not always at lunchtime. So if you have something like soup and bread, you might just need to put the attention there for the protein. So just start to think, just start to put your attention. So I'm going to throw it open to the floor, and I want you just to come back to me if you've got any questions, but I want to check in what you are going to do. Pop it into the chat box. What are you going to do for this week's focus? Where are you putting your spotlight and your attention? Normal porridge, added flax seeds, and normally make it with milk and blueberries, almonds anyway. Very nice. Do you know what has been really nice about your comments so far? Small things. It's a small little additions or little changes, bringing a bit more attention to that fiber or the protein or the one of your 5 a day at breakfast, things that you can maintain. Remember, this is not about being on a diet. It's about looking at what your habits are, just noticing what you do and how you could tweak it, how you could improve it, how you could reset it and rebalance it. Okay, so right, if you don't have any comments or questions, then I'm going to let me see. Oops. I'm going to run through some ideas with you, and I'm just going to share a different screen in 1 second. Right, lovely. I made improvements in the fasting window and keep working in the break between last meal and bed. Good. And just tweak it, just ease it. Make a meal plan that's more balanced and stick to it. Very nice. Right, I want to share a different screen with you. So this, on the handout, you've got the link to this website anyway, but there's lots and lots and lots of different recipes. So I'm just going to illustrate what I mean by some of these meals. So it could be that your overnight oats, this one has got things like walnuts and chia seeds in there. Lots of you said about things like chia and flax in your breakfast. Beautiful. Then it might be that you go for, let me see, a lunch could be, if you're working from home, it might be that you're bringing more beans and lentils into your diet. It might be that you do things like somebody mentioned about the mini egg muffins. Brilliant idea, because that can be a great thing for a breakfast or a lunch. You could make up a super salad. So if you're thinking about shortcuts here at lunchtime, think about what's in season. Think about what's easy. This is a great recipe here, which is a lentil and apricot salad. So it uses a little pouch of the lentils, and then you add in different ingredients into it. So it's got red pepper, celery, parsley, orange, bit of feta cheese, but that will do you over 2 lunches. Take shortcuts where you possibly can. Make this all easy on yourself. So use your leftovers. Make a pot of soup once a week, or even buy those good carton soups, but choose one that's got beans or lentils in it for your protein. It's going to keep you really sustained. And make sure also that you're getting your vegetables in there too. So could you do things that are going to help you just to make it easy, just to take the shortcuts? And if you are making up things like your salads, then remember that we're still in that in-between time. We are still in kind of, I was going to say autumn, winter. No, we're not. We're still in early spring. So using vegetables like here, beetroots, carrots, oranges are still in season. Things like spinach, for example, that also uses a pack of those ready cooked lentils or a can of lentils. So bring in things that are hearty, nourishing, filling, rather than things like lettuce and cucumber and tomato. We'll get to that in the summertime, but not just now. We want those things that are gonna really sustain us, nourish us, and keep us as much as possible. Okay, so
Hey
let me
Jane,
see.
I'm just going to
Thank
jump on
you,
and join you
Lisa.
at this point because actually we do have a few questions
Very
that
good.
have come in. I just wanted to draw your attention to a
Yes.
really interesting one that has just come up from someone who says they've just discovered they have lipedema.
Yes.
Lots of things coming up on social media, and we've got to be cautious, I think, sometimes with social media because we're
Yes.
getting different. Maybe we don't know what the background of those people are. Any suggestions of nutrition for helping with that condition?
Yes, a lot. It might just be worth getting in touch with me separately because I do work a lot with lipedema. It's going towards, it's a very specialist diet, but it's going towards a low carbohydrate diet to reduce the inflammation and to support connective tissue. So there's loads on social media. Just be careful about being overwhelmed, and that goes with any condition. But lipedema, I have got a lot of experience with, and so drop me a message, and I can point you in the right
So
direction for
your
that.
contact details, Jane, the person who submitted that, they've posted that anonymously, so we can't reply direct
Mhm.
to that. But the worksheet has your
Has
contact
my
information on it, and of course,
Yes,
our final slide has your website on it. So we'll, if the person gets those contact details, they can connect
yes,
in with you. There was
yes.
another question down here that yeah. So this is an area that I have kind of sometimes fallen foul of, but the late night snacks. So someone's asked, what is a good healthy small
Yes,
snack if they just want a little bit of something in the
yes,
evening?
very nice. So think about the protein, think about the fiber, and if you notice that actually you don't want to go to bed hungry because you might wake up, but I would suggest something maybe like a little bit of yogurt because yogurt can help sleep. Have we done it already, or maybe not the one on sleep yet? I don't think we
No, I
have.
don't think so.
So that there are certain foods that help you with sleep. So dairy products, cherries, banana, and almonds. So a little bit of Greek yogurt with some cherries or a little bit of sliced banana and a few flaked almonds is really good. Or oat cake and almond butter is a good one. Just something small like that, just to kind of help you to feel like you're having something, but not that's going to rock your blood sugar in the middle of the night and then wake you up.
And you've got a lot of great suggestions actually on the website. I've noticed somebody's asked, can we get a link to those recipes? So Jane's website, which I think has been put up by actually
Mm-hmm.
someone in the audience has responded to that with your website. So everybody's getting involved in supporting each other, Jane, which is super. So if someone wants to go onto your website, they can find all those recipes, and there's some really lovely
Yes.
ideas for little snack things as well as lunches and dinners. Brilliant.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Um, Super. Let me see. I think what's been really nice in this session, Jane, is not tons and tons of questions, but there's still a couple of minutes. So if you have a question, pop it in the Q&A now. But actually, loads of sharing of what people have
Very
been
nice.
doing. Lots of people, as you said earlier on, just a little thing. Maybe the normal breakfast routine, but adding some flax seeds, adding some chia seeds, adding a bit of
Yes.
avocado or whatever it happens to be. That's really
Yes.
lovely. We've got somebody who has said, I need an alternative to my evening magnum.
I saw that, yes.
So,
So what about
although
what
there's,
about for that
now
then
and
some
again,
dark
now and again, a
chocolates?
magnum's not,
Yeah,
it's your
and what about
magnum.
something like a little bit of dark chocolate there? Or the other thing that you could do is think bananas also are good for sleep. So there is a recipe, it's not on my website, and I've not tried it to be honest, but it seems to be good. Frozen banana, and it makes like an ice cream. Or again, you could do something like a little bit of dark chocolate and a few nuts, and that's not the same as a magnum, but you could maybe try the frozen banana idea.
Nice. So if anybody tries that this week or finds a recipe, let us know how you get on with that next week. And if I try it, I will let you know how we get on with it next week.
Yes.
Well, we're pretty much at the end of our time now. So what I want to do is just finish up by sharing the upcoming sessions. Please don't forget, this is week 2 of the 4-week reset. So we've still got parts 3 and 4. If you haven't registered for those already, I'm guessing quite a lot of you will already have done that. But if you haven't, jump onto our website this afternoon, get registered for next Tuesday and the Tuesday after for parts 3 and 4 to join in with Jane. And then as we go through the rest of this year, we've got so many sessions coming up from Jane in a range of different areas. We've got retirement planning. We've got some sessions, some really fabulous sessions coming up for Carers Week, which is early June. So keep an eye on our website for those. They're not up yet to register for, but they will be soon. Hybrid working, which probably affects a lot of us here and our audience in the civil service, and other sessions. So please do bear those in mind and get registered if you haven't already. Again, I just want to say an enormous thank you to Jane. Always a fabulous session. What a super audience as well. Everybody's so engaged, sharing their thoughts, sharing their comments, supporting each other, which is really what we want in our community here. Really appreciate all of that. Looking forward to seeing everybody next week. But for now, we're going to say cheerio. Bye.
Thank you. See you next week, everyone.